In my sophomore year of college, my roommate had a miscarriage in the dormitory. I kindly sent her to the hospital, but in the end, rumors spread that I was the one with a chaotic private life and had had multiple miscarriages. I was slandered and had my photos doctored, becoming a famous figure on campus the day the school called me in for a talk. A group of hooligans dragged me into the woods with great difficulty. I managed to crawl back to the dormitory in a battered state. My roommates all thought I was dirty and wanted to kick me out. During the scuffle, I fell from the 6th floor and impaled myself on an iron pole, being pierced right through. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my roommate had the miscarriage. Elena, my stomach hurts so much. Lila's weak voice reached my ears, pulling me back to reality from my days looking at the person lying on my bed and groaning in pain. My heart was pounding. The intense pain of being pierced through the body by the iron pole just a moment ago, with my waist and abdomen torn apart, seemed like just a dream. On my bed sheet, bright red blood had already started to spread. Frowning tightly, I took out my phone and started taking pictures of Lila. Elena. What are you taking pictures of me for? She asked, looking puzzled, seemingly not yet aware of the seriousness of the situation. I ignored her, dialed 120, informed them of the situation, put away my phone, and then pulled her up from the bed. Lila, you've dirtied my bed sheet. This is a silk for piece that my mom bought for me. It's worth 8,000 yuan and can't be washed. The sheet is so dirty now that it's definitely unusable. Count it as 3,000. Remember to transfer the money to me. As I pulled her up, she was a bit unsteady on her feet and tried to lean on me. I felt disgusted. Slightly moved my steps, and stepped back. She fell heavily to the ground. Elena. You. She was in so much pain that she could barely speak clearly. I waved my hand. There's so much blood. Of course. I can't let you keep sitting on the bed or the chair. Sit on the floor. It'll be easier to clean. I pretended to be considerate of her, pulled over a chair and sat down, then started playing with my phone on my own. After thinking for a while, I took a few more pictures of her. I turned a deaf ear to her wailing and crying on the ground. It was Saturday, and many students had gone out to play. The door of our dormitory was closed, and no one outside knew what was going on inside. When the school built the dormitories, they deliberately enhanced the sound insulation, considering the students' rest. Even if she cried out loudly at this moment, people outside couldn't hear her. In my past life, I suffered because of this. It was my bed sheet that got dirty, and the dormitory door was tightly shut, so no one could see what was happening inside. When the ambulance arrived, she was covered up tightly. She even specifically asked me to wear her mask and hat for fear of being recognized. I believed her nonsense and got myself into that embarrassing situation, unable to clear my name. Thinking about all the things in my past life, I was filled with hatred. Soon, the ambulance arrived. Lila begged me to go with her, and I didn't refuse. Before we left, she indeed asked me to wear a mask and hat. Elena, there are masks and hats in my cabinet. Find them and put them on, please. If we're recognized, how can we face others? The nurse sisters also tried to persuade me. I knew they meant well, but I firmly refused. Lila, having fulfilled my obsession, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not afraid of being seen. Nurse sisters, let's go quickly. She's been in pain for a while. If we don't hurry, I'm afraid. Before Lila could say anything, the stretcher was carried out of the dormitory, and I, following the crowd openly, looked nervous. Even when someone asked on the way, I kindly explained. Ah yes, it's Lila from our dormitory. I don't know why, but she suddenly started bleeding a lot. Yeah, that's right, it's her. Come on, everyone, stop asking. We'll talk about it when we come back from the hospital. On behalf of Lila, I thank you all for your concern. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lila looking at me with a murderous gaze. I pretended not to notice and kept explaining to my classmates all the way until the stretcher was loaded onto the ambulance. In the narrow ambulance, Lila weakly questioned me. Why did you tell them it was me? Do you know? I grabbed her hand and interrupted her with a sincere look. Oh, Lila, everyone cares about you. They mean well. What's so strange about getting sick? Why can't everyone know it's you? I really don't understand you. Lila. The nurse sisters also sighed and praised me for being a good roommate. I smiled modestly, but inside, I was overjoyed, hee hee. Lila, this time, I want to see how you can frame me. You want me to be your scapegoat and bear all those rumors. In your dreams. When we arrived at the hospital, she was pushed into the operating room. I sat on the chair in the corridor, took a few pictures of the operating room door. I sorted out the pictures taken in the dormitory, selected a few with the best angles, and posted them on my WeChat moments. Along with a selfie of mine, the caption read, "My roommate is bleeding a lot, it's so scary. I'm accompanying her to the hospital, hope Lila is safe." I was an officer in the student union, and there were quite a few classmates on my WeChat. Many people had seen the scene when the ambulance came. As soon as this WeChat post was made, the number of likes exceeded 100 within half an hour, and there were dozens of comments. Some even took a screenshot of the WeChat post and sent it to the school's big group. I responded enthusiastically, thanking them for their concern on behalf of Lila. Many people suspected that she had a miscarriage, and I feigned surprise in my response. Impossible. Our Lila has always been clean living. How could she do such a thing? Classmate, don't talk nonsense. Yes, Lila had always had the reputation of being the pure school beauty on campus. From freshman to sophomore year, she hadn't even had a boyfriend. So in my past life, no one suspected her. Afraid of having her dirty secrets dug out, she took the initiative to shift the blame to me. She deliberately revealed the news of the miscarriage and pushed all her shameful and dirty deeds onto me when I confronted her. She put on an even more pitiful act and flat out refused to admit it. He insisted that it was me who had the miscarriage and that she had just accompanied me to the hospital. We were about the same build, and before leaving the dormitory, I had worn her hat and mask, which was the best evidence for her to exonerate herself. As for those medical certificates, who would bother to verify them? I was pushed to the center of the storm. No one would bother to confirm the authenticity of those rumors and doctored pictures. People only believed what they saw and treated it as nothing more than a sensational piece of gossip. From the time she had the miscarriage to my fall from the building, it was only half a month. The operation took a long time. 2 hours later, she was wheeled out, unconscious by the time she woke up. I had already called the other roommates over in my past life. They had been bribed by Lila with money. They formed a united front and insisted that it was me who had the miscarriage. They even cooperated with Lila and took pictures of my blood-stained bed this time. I called them over in advance and also took pictures of the hospital room and posted them on my WeChat moments. I didn't believe that was such conclusive evidence. These people could still harm me, but I still underestimated the terrifying nature of humanity. When Lila woke up and saw that all the roommates had arrived, a look I couldn't quite understand flashed across her face. She deliberately sent me away, asking me to go downstairs to buy her a bowl of hot porridge. When I came back, the expressions on their faces were a bit unnatural. I became alert in my heart, but I had no idea what they had discussed during my absence. Lila needed to be hospitalized for a few days, and the few of us roommates took turns taking care of her. Publicly, we all agreed on the story that she had a massive hemorrhage due to menstrual disorders. Different from the past life, this time, the other 2 roommates had clearly seen the report. Everyone knew the real reason for her hospitalization. But regarding this, everyone remained silent. And the news of the miscarriage didn't spread at all on the day she was discharged. We went to pick her up together when we got back to the dormitory. Lila said that the upper bunk was too high and that, given her current physical condition, it wasn't suitable for her to climb up and down. She asked to swap beds with me. She had made the same request in my past life, and at that time, I didn't think much of it and just agreed. 7 days after her miscarriage, which was also a Sunday, I had a fever and had been sleeping in the dormitory. That afternoon, I was in a daze and felt someone on top of me. When I forced myself to wake up, I saw a naked boy. And I was also completely naked before I could resist. A group of people suddenly burst in since I was sleeping on the upper bunk and they were blocking the way below. I couldn't even get out of bed to find something to cover myself with that day. The photos of me fooling around with a man in the dormitory went viral on campus after that. The rumors about my chaotic private life and multiple miscarriages were directly confirmed, and I was completely unable to defend myself. Thinking about the helplessness and humiliation in my past life, I couldn't help but clench my fists. But I didn't show it on my face. I pretended to be in a dilemma and said, Lila, you know that I often get up at night. And there are a lot of things to do in the student union. I also often come back very late. If I sleep on the upper bunk, I'm afraid I'll disturb you guys. When we were choosing beds in our freshman year, she had disliked the lower bunk because it was often sit on and she thought it was dirty. Now she wanted to change to the lower bunk and make me sleep on the upper bunk in my past life. I was just as soft-hearted and naive, and she had easily deceived me. Elena, let's just swap for a while. When I'm fully recovered, I'll move back. Is that okay? She made a concession. But I still didn't agree to persuade me. The three of them formed a united front again and tried to morally blackmail me. Luna stood beside Lila, looking righteous, and said, Elena, we're all roommates. What's wrong with giving a hand? Cecilia had already started packing my bed and said, Yeah, why are you so cold-hearted? It's just a bed swap, it's not like we were asking for your life. Really, you have no compassion. Seeing her rough actions, my eyes darkened, and I pushed Cecilia away. What are you doing? Did I agree? How dare you touch my things? I said I don't want to continue. Understand me. You're so eager to help, Cecilia. Why don't you swap with her yourself? You're also on the lower bunk, aren't you? I ranted at them. And they were less stunned. Maybe they themselves didn't expect that I, who was usually kind-tempered and easygoing, would be so fierce today. Did they really think I was a sick kid that could be bullied? The first one to react was Lila. She looked traumatized and even managed to squeeze out some tears. Elena, alas. Forget it since you don't want to, then forget it. Cecilia has problems with her legs. You know that. Forget it. I'll just endure it even if it hurts a bit. It's what I deserve. This kind of two-faced tact made me want to vomit. It was the same in my past life when I was being condemned by everyone. She would add fuel to the fire with her insincere words. Forget it. Everyone on team make things difficult for Elena. She surely didn't want this to happen. He must have her own difficulties to be with so many men. Oh, everyone has hard times. Her words directly nailed me to the pillory of being kept by multiple men and selling my body for money, but behind the scenes, she was a completely different person. Elena, I deliberately lay on your bed. I deliberately framed you. Why? Because you're always so pretentious and you come from a good family. Why am I prettier than you but have to suffer so much? Why are you so clean while I have to wallow in the dirt? I just want to drag you down into the mud. I had always kept my family situation a secret. To others, I only said that I was an ordinary girl from the countryside. I had no idea how she found out. It was only when I was pushed downstairs that I realized that the reason she hated me so much and wanted to kill me was nothing but jealousy. She also came from the countryside, but had a vain heart before that incident. We all thought she was from a wealthy rural family, but in the end, I found out that all that money was earned by selling her body, so she was jealous of me. Another rural-born girl who happened to be from a family that got rich overnight due to demolition. Luna and Cecilia hugged her affectionately, saying, Lila, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. You're just too easy to bully. The way they showed their deep sisterly bond made me sick. I was facing the dormitory door and noticed it was cracked open a bit. An idea popped into my mind. Fine, since Lila wants to sleep on the lower bunk. You can have it. I'll move out. I could be more wrong than she pretended to beat my words. Lila was stunned, but soon she almost shrieked, No. Elena, you can't move out. She grabbed my hand, looking extremely nervous. I feigned confusion and asked, Why can I move out? I don't want to sleep on the upper bunk. And if you want to sleep in my bed, this seems to be the only solution. Lila, I've made such a big concession. What else do you want? She tightened her grip on my hand and stammered as if she was thinking of me. Elena, you're a girl. It's too dangerous for you to move out. If you really don't want to swap, then it's okay. I'll just sleep on the upper bunk. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Moving out was dangerous. Staying here was the real danger. I bet. I finally realized that instead of engaging in this battle of wits with them, it would be better for me to move out. I came to college to pursue a future and study hard, not to get involved in such scheming. Moreover, no matter how cautious I was, with these underhanded tricks, I was bound to stumble again eventually. There's no way to guard against a thief every single day. I wanted revenge, but now wasn't the right time. Alone and unsupported. I couldn't bet on my own safety after making up my mind. I expressionlessly pulled my hand away from hers and turned around to start packing my bed. We're good roommates. Since you're not feeling well, I should give in to you, Lila. Don't worry. I'll be safe outside, you don't have to make sacrifices for me. She tried to pull me back. No, Elena, don't be impulsive. Just then, the dormitory door was pushed open. A few girls from the neighboring dormitory walked and they sized Lila up and down and said, "Classmate. Elena has made such a big concession to take care of your health, what are you being so picky about?" Lila's eyes dodged as she started to defend herself. But her words were full of loopholes. While they were arguing, I had already finished packing my bed next. I moved on to my desk and wardrobe. But when I opened my wardrobe, I found some things that didn't belong to me: lubricant. A whole box of condoms. Adult sex toys. I froze in place, and then Lila's voice came from behind me. "Oh no, neberulo paranano. Elena, how? How could you have these things?" I turned around and looked at her, feigning surprise. My mind was in a turmoil. A flash of viciousness crossed her eyes, then an idea struck me. Could it be? I was wrong, this was her real purpose. Some details suddenly flooded into my mind. No wonder Cecilia said she needed to use the toilet before we left and told us to go ahead. Now it all made sense. She had put these things in my closet. The talk about swapping beds and not wanting me to move out was all a goading tactic. How could the door open by itself, and how could it be such a coincidence that two girls from the neighboring dormitory showed up? It was all a setup by Lila. She must have been reborn too. She must have noticed something was off about my unusual behavior. She knew I definitely wouldn't agree to swap beds this time. She also knew I didn't like trouble, so I would choose to move out. She was aware that since I had a second chance at life, I wouldn't just sit back and do nothing, so she turned the situation to her advantage and chose another way to ruin my reputation. Even if she couldn't pin the miscarriage on me, she thought she could still make me seem like I had a chaotic private life. Even if I revealed my real family background, in the face of such evidence, people would still think I was a rich and promiscuous person. She had calculated every step, but she knew exactly what I was going to do. The two girls had already started taking pictures of my closet with their phones. My mind raced. But I couldn't come up with a solution. I had been careless. Lila, after being reborn, had actually become smart. TSK, I never thought you were into such wild stuff. Elena. Cecilia picked up the bottle of lubricant and smiled at me triumphantly. Luna snatched it from her hand and stuffed it into my arms, her voice full of disgust. Cecilia, havaremano losai. Why are you touching that? Aren't you afraid there are germs on it? Don't you find it disgusting? The dormitory door was wide open, and some girls from other dormitories had gathered around. They were all pointing at us, the two girls who had just come in, even invited others to come in. Everyone, come in and see me. We found something interesting. I bet many of you have never seen these things before. Let me read the instructions for you. One of the girls had already started reading, and some of the other girls started jeering, calling me shameless, while some blushed and ran out. The scene was so similar to what happened in my past life. Those dirty insults were like the sharpest knives, cutting at my heart. I covered my ears and crouched down on the ground. Men just admit defeat like this. Given a second chance at life, I couldn't let my life be ruined by Lila. Even if I had to completely break with them and face them directly, I wouldn't take this false accusation. I was afraid of trouble, and even more afraid of being secretly framed by these petty people and getting stabbed in the back constantly. But this time, I chose to face it head on. I was going to get rid of Lila and these toxic people once and for all. I stood up, picked up the lubricant from the ground, snatched the instruction manual and sex toys from the girl's hand, and stuffed them all back into my wardrobe, and locked it. After doing all this, I calmly started to speak. These things aren't mine. I've noted down everyone who insulted me just now. I'll call the police, and once the truth is out, you can all expect to receive lawyers' letters. Everyone was shocked. They never thought that just by joining in the gossip and making a few thoughtless remarks, they could end up facing lawyers' letters. Those who had managed to hold their tongues earlier quickly made their exit. The ones who had insulted me were left awkwardly, not knowing whether to stay or leave just as the situation was at a standstill. Lila spoke up. What are you all afraid of? The things were in her closet if they're not hers. Whose could they be? And calling the police? Who knows if she's just trying to destroy evidence? She's just bluffing you. Luna and Cecilia chimed in as well. Their words seemed to reassure everyone. Seeing that I hadn't made the call yet, the crowd resumed their insults. Each one more vicious and offensive than the last. I looked around at everyone present, then picked up my phone. Uncle Policeman, Aisha Policeman. You heard all those words, right? The noisy dormitory fell silent in an instant. Everyone stared at me in disbelief. Cecilia lunged at me, trying to grab my phone. Elena, are you crazy? You actually dare to call the police? I swayed my hips and dodged her attack. Due to inertia, she crashed straight into the wardrobe. Coincidentally, the lock catch of that wardrobe was broken, and a piece of iron sheet was sticking out. Her face made direct contact with the iron sheet. Immediately, her ear-piercing scream filled the pin-drop silent dormitory. Ah, my face! My face! It hurts so much. She turned around, covering her face, and bright red blood seeped through her fingers. Everyone was terrified, and I, looking at her sorry state, felt a sense of satisfaction. In my past life, she was the one who pushed me the hardest when I was falling from the building. She could have grabbed me, but she let go. Now, her disfigurement was nothing but karma. Lila and Luna didn't dare to step forward. They hugged each other, their bodies trembling, completely panicked. Even though Lila had also been reborn, she never expected this turn of events. I wasn't dead, and Cecilia, who had always stood by her side, was now in trouble. She finally knew what fear was. Just then, the policeman arrived. Cecilia was rushed to the hospital, and everyone present was taken to the police station. The things in the closet were also confiscated. After giving our statements, since we were all students and there were so many of us, the police's identification results came out quickly on the door of my closet. There were Cecilia's and my fingerprints, but on those items, except for the lubricant, the instruction manual, and one of the sex toys that I had touched, the rest only had Cecilia's and Luna's fingerprints. The surveillance in the dormitory corridor also captured the image of Cecilia sneaking back with a bunch of things in her arms with such conclusive evidence. The truth was obvious. All those who had spoken ill of me in the dormitory today apologized to me, but I didn't accept it. This kind of apology means nothing. If you don't want to receive lawyers' letters, then each of you write a 10,000-word self-criticism and apologize publicly under the national flag next Monday. Or the national flag next Monday. A kind-hearted horse is ridden, and a kind-hearted person is bullied. There's no such thing as taking a step back and everything will be fine. Given a second chance at life, I won't swallow this humiliation. These people thought they were just speaking without thinking, joining in the gossip for fun, but they never considered that those insulting words could doctor us into death. In my past life, if Lila and the others were the main culprits, then these people who insulted, gossiped, and spread rumors were all accomplices. This incident wasn't originally a big deal, but with Lila's scheming backfiring, too many people were involved. So many students being taken away by the police directly alerted the school authorities. Some busboys even recorded the incident and posted it online. Before the truth was known, public opinion flared up. In just a few hours, all kinds of rumors were flying on the internet. By the time we finished giving our statements, the video had gone viral in the local area, and any parents of students received the news and called the school one after another, asking what was going on. The school was overwhelmed, and summoned the main people involved, including us, to the principal's office. This familiar place couldn't help but remind me of my past life. Back then, I was slandered and had my photos doctored, and the rumors spread widely on the internet, bringing a lot of negative impact to the school. The school leaders came to me, trying to persuade me to drop out voluntarily. I refused, and they even resorted to coercion and bribery. Elena, we're discussing this with you nicely now. If you don't listen, then we'll have to take extreme measures. Even if you don't want to leave, I can guarantee that you won't get your graduation certificate. Do you really want to oppose us? I wasn't afraid of their threats at all. At that time, I believed that justice would prevail, so I firmly rejected their demands. Principal, I won't drop out. I worked very hard to get into this university, and those rumors on the internet have nothing to do with me if you look into it seriously. You'll surely find out the truth. The innocent will be vindicated. Instead of finding out the truth, you come to persuade me to drop out. I'm very disappointed with your way of handling this. Also, I've already called the police, and I believe the police will give me justice." When they heard that I had called the police, the faces of several school leaders turned even uglier. The principal was about to continue arguing with me, but the department had stopped him. After saying all these words and seeing no one respond, I sighed inwardly. Ignoring their dark and gloomy faces, I walked straight out of the office. Since they called me in rather late and then argued with me for a long time, it was around 8 o'clock in the evening when I came out. On the way back to the dormitory, I had to pass through a small forest. Those hooligans had been waiting for me there. From their words, I also learned that their appearance was not a coincidence. Instead, someone had instigated them. Those 3 hours were an inhumane ordeal, a nightmare for 2 lifetimes of mine. In my past life, I was the one being condemned by everyone, but in this life, it was Lila who was at the center of the storm. Just now at the police station, Cecilia, afraid of being held legally responsible, spilled all the beans, including the fact that Lila had a miscarriage. Our department head was also present during the statement-taking. Sitting in this familiar office, I was quite calm. The principal, his face ashen, looked at the prime culprit with hatred. "Lila, you've really outdone yourself. Getting pregnant before marriage, having a miscarriage in the dormitory, and then trying to frame your roommate to ruin her reputation. You raise so young, her reputation you raise so young. Yet you have so many tricks up your sleeve. This matter has blown up so big. I don't want to say much. You should drop out voluntarily." Lila's face paled, and she subconsciously glanced at the department head sitting in the perfect position. I happened to catch this small movement. I grew suspicious. What was her relationship with the department head? In an instant, an important clue flashed through my mind. Theodore. Yes, the instigator mentioned by those hooligans was Theodore at that time. I thought he was Lila's relative. Now, thinking about the department head's reaction to stop the principal in my past life, and Lila's glance just now. Moreover, he was part of the campus security staff. Connecting these details, an answer seemed to be emerging. Lila and Theodore shared the same surname. There must be something fishy going on. Theodore was the one who instigated those hooligans in my past life. Theodore didn't dare to look at Lila. Instead, he was sitting on the sofa on the other side, lost in thought. Lila clenched her teeth, refusing to accept the principal's decision. "Principal, this isn't all my fault. I don't agree to drop out. If it weren't for Elena calling the police today, none of this would have happened." She's making a mountain out of a molehill. Cecilia, who had had a falling out with her at the police station, was now on her side again, pointing the finger at me. "Yes, Principal, it's all Elena's fault. We were just joking around." But she insisted on making a big deal out of it. The two of them looked indignant, as if they were the ones who had suffered a great deal. The principal looked at me hesitantly, his eyes showing some wavering. I curled my lips in mockery. I originally wanted to watch the show, but since it involved me, I couldn't just stand by. We might as well all face the music. Joking? Who jokes by putting those kinds of things in my closet? And those 2 classmates from the neighboring dormitory who happened to be at the door. They confessed everything. Lila asked them to stand guard at the door if it was just a joke. Then why did they come in and start taking pictures of my closet and me? Why did they deliberately call so many people and read those instructions? Lila, you're the one who's morally degenerate. Having a chaotic private life, and you want to drag me down to divert attention, right? My well-organized speech laid bare her dirty motives. She froze, and the principal's face also turned ugly. Theodore, sitting on the side, still kept his head down, silent like a quail. Lila opened her mouth. "Principal. No, it's not like that." Theodore. Seeing that Lila was about to implicate him, Theodore couldn't sit still. He rushed forward and slapped her across the face. "Shut up. Lila, drop out quietly and don't cause any more trouble. You made a mistake, so you have to bear the consequences. Don't bring trouble to the school." Lila was slapped to the side, covering her face with an expression of disbelief. After their eyes met for a moment, the light in her eyes dimmed. "Fine, I agree to drop out." Was she really being so obedient? After being reborn, was she just going to get in like this? What happened next was not much different from what I had expected. Cecilia was given a major demerit. and her eligibility for awards and evaluations was revoked. Even her scholarship was gone to compensate for the damage to my reputation. The school approved a scholarship for me, but I didn't accept it. I knew the principle that he who accepts a favor is vulnerable to the giver. I didn't need the money, and I didn't want to leave myself open to being manipulated by them. The matter of the frame-up seemed to have come to an end. Lila dropped out of school, and was said to be going back to her hometown. Luna was still in the hospital recovering, and Cecilia moved out of the dormitory. Now, I was the only one left in this dormitory. A few days later, a girl from the computer department moved in. She seemed a bit withdrawn and didn't talk much. She was always holding a computer, typing away at something. Usually, too, if I didn't initiate a conversation, she wouldn't say anything, and since I was busy with many things and had little time in the dormitory, I didn't find anything amiss. However, occasionally when I came back late, even if she was already asleep, she would leave the light on for me. Sometimes, when I was so busy with student union affairs that I didn't have time to eat, she would bring me a meal. The dormitory's hygiene also visibly improved. Even the air seemed much fresher. We had a kind of tacit and harmonious relationship. This peaceful life was disrupted a month later. Someone posted a set of photos on the campus network. They were all large-scale and decent photos of me, and they were in high definition, but I knew clearly that these were definitely not taken by me. Thinking of the photos in my past life, I immediately understood these must be doctored. However, the photo editing technology this time was obviously much more sophisticated. It was clear that a professional had done it, and without thinking, I knew the person behind this must be Lila. I was really fed up with this crazy woman. After she dropped out, I thought that as long as she didn't bother me, I could let go of what happened in the past life. I didn't want to look for unnecessary trouble and just wanted to live each day well in the future. After all, for a girl like her who had made it out of the countryside with great difficulty after much hardship, being dropped out and having it on her record was like cutting off her future. It was already the best punishment for her. I never expected that she would still dare to cause me trouble. Since she chose to do so, then she shouldn't blame me for being ruthless. I called my dad and asked him to transfer a large sum of money to me. I've always been thrifty, and my dad wasn't surprised when I suddenly asked for so much money instead. He seemed relieved. My dear daughter, you're finally willing to spend money properly, right? Before, your dad told you to go shopping when you had time, but you always said you wanted to keep a low profile. Now you've finally seen the light. Is 500,000 enough? How about I make it an even million? The excited voice on the other end of the phone almost made me burst into tears. In my past life, after going through those things, I was afraid of worrying my parents. I thought I could handle it on my own and believed that there was justice in the world and no innocent person would be wronged. So I didn't tell them anything about what happened to me. Until I fell from the building, they didn't know what kind of torture their daughter had endured at school at the moment I fell. I was still worried about whether they would be extremely sad. They only had me as their daughter. If I died, I couldn't imagine how desperate they would be. Fortunately, God gave me a chance to start over. I didn't plan to tell them about what happened in my past life to avoid making them sad, but I told my dad everything that happened in this life in detail. After listening to me, the old man was almost furious. Dear daughter, your dad will handle this. How dare someone bully my daughter? They're courting death. I'll smash them with money. I quickly soothed him. Dad, I can handle this myself. Don't you worry. I know what I'm doing. He was reluctant and still a bit worried, but finally, I managed to calm him down and get him to promise not to interfere. After receiving the money, I contacted a detective and asked them to investigate Lila and Theodore. Soon, I received the information. After going through it, even though I had prepared myself mentally, I was still shocked. It turned out that Lila was Theodore's adopted daughter, but the two had an improper relationship. The child Lila aborted was Theodore's. This information was really a timely help. After getting the information, I had someone check the IP address of that post. As expected, it was the rental house where Lila was living now. Just as I was about to have someone remove the post, when I clicked in again, I found that the content of the post had changed. The caption became an expose of the scandal between Lila and Theodore. The pictures also turned into high definition, large-scale private photos of the two of them. As for my previous photos, under the latest comment, a professional comparative analysis was posted, proving that they were doctored. And the original photo's heroine was Lila herself. This astonishing reversal caused the campus network to explode, and it was even forwarded to the local area in just a few hours. The internet was flooded with the content of this post. If it was just about Lila, it might not be that bad, but the other protagonist of this incident was a department head of our school. The school's reputation was completely ruined. Interestingly, when my doctored photos were exposed, the school didn't do anything. But after this post was modified, the school panicked and desperately tried to have the post removed. However, no matter what they did, the post couldn't be deleted. As if it was infected with a virus. Moreover, anyone who connected to the school's campus network, whether on a mobile phone or a computer, received a document. This document contained more detailed and unpublicizable private content about the scandal between Lila and Theodore. Now, even those who didn't like to browse the campus wall or surf the internet were forced to get involved in this gossip. Looking at the document in my hand that I hadn't had time to send out, I was a bit stunned. Could it be that my dad had intervened? I called him, and he said it wasn't him. I was even more confused. Who on earth was this kind-hearted person? Soon, flay down a low sigh, I found out who was behind this. The school leaders came to our dormitory. I thought they were coming for me, but they were actually looking for my new roommate, Amara. As soon as the principal entered, he knelt down directly in front of her. Amara, please stop and delete that post. If it spreads any further, the school's reputation will be ruined on my watch. He was crying and sniveling, looking extremely pathetic. And our protagonist, Amara, looked at me. Principal, the person you should be begging isn't me, but Elena. When she was being cyberbullied, you guys did nothing and let the public opinion develop, never considering how much impact this would have on her. Now, when it comes to the school, you're getting nervous? You're really being double-standard. My blood was boiling. She actually knew everything. It was her. It would be a lie to say I wasn't touched. And yet she stood up to the school for me. With tears in my eyes, regardless of the school leaders still present, I rushed over and hugged her. Amara, thank you. And the school had to pay the price of expelling and blacklisting Theodore to get Amara to delete the post. Originally, they also wanted to ask her to control the other public opinions on the internet, but she refused. Principal, your indifference has to come at a cost, right? The school's atmosphere should be rectified. Finally, the principal and a series of related leaders were thoroughly investigated, and many of them were removed from their positions. Theodore was also found guilty at accepting bribes, and there was an old case from years ago that was related to him. Lila's parents in the countryside were disabled. They used to be skilled workers in a factory, with good income and benefits, and could have provided Lila with a carefree life. But all of this was destroyed by Theodore. One time, after drinking and driving, he hit Lila's parents, who were on a motorcycle, and disabled them. Since that road was in the mountains and there were no surveillance cameras around, to escape punishment, he found a person with cancer to take the blame for him. To ease his conscience, he sponsored Lila and adopted her as his daughter. But as time passed, Lila grew more and more beautiful. And being vain, the two eventually got together. When this matter was exposed, Lila completely broke down. On the day Theodore was being judged and was about to be taken to prison by the police car, Lila rushed up and stabbed him 8 times, each stab fatal. Theodore died on the spot. As she fled in a panic, she was hit by a speeding truck and flew onto a truck in front that was carrying steel needles and iron plates with thousands of needles piercing her body. She was turned into a sieve. Upon learning of her fate, Luna and Cecilia had nightmares every day and eventually became a bit mentally deranged and dropped out of school voluntarily. All the villains got their due ends, and the story between Amara and me was just beginning.